and today you may be watching this video asking, well, if this is the video that I'm looking for, what one's better for me overall? Now in my world that I've been working on with my friends, I built these two spawn boxes. They are the minimum amount for a corruption and crimson biome. The corruption has more gory to it and more death than just overall bad music. Well, not scary music, like but this, the corruption, it has more like a good beat, and it's more like when your hard drive corrupts. And oh, I should have put them more closer to the ground, but I don't care. Just a devour. But yeah, guys, what one should you pick? So I have on this world a thing. I have a mining world which brings me to the corruption, and then I have a different world which has crimson on it. So this is the corruption. It's more filled with chasms and stuff. And then I tried to build a little replica of it in my base, but as you can see, the corruption is filled with chasms that go very deep. If you fall in one, you probably don't come out alive. If you don't have lucky horseshoe, then if you do, then that's really good. But as a replica for the crimson, this is a crimson chasm. You just basically fall in. There are a bunch of twists and turns, but multiple things going diagonally and stuff, and then you find crimson hearts. I don't make a replica of a crimson heart, but when you're working with one block, it doesn't really look that good. So yeah, you like fall down here, and then there's like a way down there, there's a way up there, there's a way there, and there's a way down there. Whereas the corruption, it's just you fall down, and then there's one way to the left and one way to the right, and then there are these shadow orbs in the ground. But then come to the question, what's the loot? What's the loot difference? Now, for the corruption, the loot is worse than the crimson, but the corruption's easier. So if you know what I mean, crimson's more of a challenge and corruption's just more of a, well, it's still a challenge in early game, but it gets easier when you have armor like this. But if you don't get lucky with the finds, with all the buffs and stuff, it can be hard. It can be hard, trust me. But one thing that I can't speak. One thing that the corruption has that the crimson doesn't, I think they fixed this in 1.4. But you can actually duplicate corruption chests on one world. And now because the crimson chest, it looks quite different. I don't think you can duplicate that. So I haven't tried that on my main world. Because it's a weird position. You have to like place it on like a workbench or something, and then it places it, but then it destroys itself. So it thinks that you already have the other crimson chest, no, corruption chest. So there's one on the ground, and you have one in your inventory. You can just continue doing that to get into the corruption quests. Not quests, chests. I swear it's because it's because of those in the words. Chests. Is that even how you say it? Chests. Anyway, no one wants to hear me sound like a cat dying, but yeah, I'd say if you're a beginner to the game, I'd say you go for the corruption. Just to get yourself started, you'll be able to learn some basic parkour, and then if you want, you can move to the crimson. Now, if you're very young and you're scared of bad, like, well, you'll just see if you're very young and watching this video, you'll see that's the corruption music. I really like it. It's after this part. Now I've been playing this game since ever since it's been out. And this is the crimson. If you ever want whichever music you don't like, don't go for. Personally, I like the corruption music more just because it's upbeat music, but still, you can choose. So the corruption has better loot, but it's harder and it has quite scary music. And the corruption is easier and it has a bit worse loot and it has a nice beat. So I always go for corruption just because of the beat. And as you can see, here's a corruption chasm for you. Like I said, it goes down. Some of them are just dead ends. It goes down the way, and then there's like a big line. And then there's like these castles in the chasm. And I've already blown into most of them, but there will be a hole there. If all those evils are not just there, there'll be a hole there, and then there'll be a shadow orb in it. And if you destroy 3 shadow orbs, you awaken the Eater of Worlds. The Eater of Worlds is one of the bosses. So moving on to the bosses stage of this video. Now, the Crimson has the Brain of Cthulhu. It's this big brain that flies around and it's relative to the Eye of Cthulhu. But one thing that the Brain of Cthulhu has that the Eater of Worlds doesn't, but they're quite similar. The Brain of Cthulhu has these, I'm just going to call them orbs that fly around his body. The orbs, they fly around and once you kill them, then he gets mad and you can shoot his brain. I'd say, for me, even though I'm an experienced player, he's an easier boss. But yeah, because the Eater of Worlds, it's just, I think the Eater of Worlds is harder. Well, most people say the Eater of Worlds is easier, but I think the Eater of Worlds is harder because now we're on to the Eater of Worlds. Okay, so if you attack its head, you will see that if you first start attacking the Eater of Worlds, even if you use a sword or the Vile Thorn that you get, that's a really good weapon against him. How do I have no mana? I just stopped talking about my character. Okay. With the Vile Thorn, you would see that you place it down, it's not just one health bar, it's multiple different health bars. There's like a bigger Devourer, but he has multiple different health bars. One segment is one health bar. The head has less health, whereas the body has more, and the tail has even less than the head. And what you want to do is you want to get Jester Arrows. Make an arena out of blocks and small platforms in between, so you'll be able to go across the blocks. Then with the Jester Arrows, if you didn't know they're piercing, you'll be able to pierce through all the bits of his body and you will shred him. But if you don't have Hermie boots like me, because I gave mine to my friend Symmetry, who does this game with me, hey. Yeah, well, basically just you run and then you would jump. If you had a cloud in a bottle, or a blizzard in a bottle, or a sandstorm in a bottle, that would be really good if you had those, because they're very helpful if you just get out of tricky situations. And then if you attack the middle, he splits in half. If you attack his body, he splits in a quarter or 3/4, I don't know. But that's why you always want to go for the head. I would show you, but I've already used all of my shadow orbs in this world and I'm not farming. Well, I mean, there's another corruption biome there, and there's a corruption biome like there, but still, I don't want this video to go on for like 30 minutes. It's just a quick tutorial of what you should choose. So overall, look, I accidentally pressed the PS button. Oh, my mouse game play. What did I do? What happened? Yes, it's working. Look at that. Oh. Whoa. What can I do? I can only use a scroll wheel. Okay. Well. Okay, guys. So the overall choices. I'd say if you're a new player or you're kind of a noob, I would say go for. That meant no offense. My goodness, that's scarring. But yeah, overall I'd say if you're a beginner player, go for Corruption. It's easier, has a nice beat, and it will get you into Terraria's music. It's really good. But if you're an older player, maybe you don't have to beat the game. Maybe you've beaten the Corruption, maybe you've beaten the boss, and you're like, hey, I could do this. Go over to the Crimson and test your luck on that. It's not too much harder, but it's still a bit harder. Thank you for watching this tutorial.